Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I am currently living in Southern California, but I am originally from New York, so all this story will make sense to you. Um, but this is a story about a time in my life that I came to a crossroads. And I want to just start off by telling you how I got to where the crossroads happened. So I grew up in Albany, and my mother met someone where we moved to a small town in the mountains, the Helderberg Mountains, Catskill, Helderberg area. And so anyway, he wound up sexually abusing me and physically abusing me and my brothers until I was 14 years old. No, excuse me, 16 years old. When I had like a bit of a nervous breakdown at school, and guidance counselors, cops, courts, guilty, did time in jail. But on my end, lost my entire family, and I was fine with, like, my heart was okay with that because I needed to stick up for myself. But what had happened was when my mother kicked me out, I went to live with a family who had a daughter who I went to high school with. Very small town. We've all known each other since kindergarten kind of thing. And her mother was kind of prominent in the community. And she went to the phone and called, and things happened. And next thing I know, I'm living with them on a retired dude ranch setting. It was beautiful horses. It's upstate New York, so it's beautiful. And lived with them while I went to court, tried to finish the school year, blah, 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 just to kind of keep me on track. So I go from 1 to 7 years old in Albany, New York, right there on, off of Huffman Avenue. Go to public school, start out in Catholic school, like the whole Albany, New York thing. We did it all. But then I moved to the very rural country. But was great because school was my outlet, and it was beautiful, and we always had fun skating, and so, like, just the bad crap happening at home. So anyway, trying to finish school, but my one aunt stepped up and said to the person I was living with, "We found this school. We'd like Michelle to go there." I hadn't turned 18 yet, So how about we try to get her in? And that place was called Job Corps. It was the Glenmont Job Corps, and I was still coming out of people still need to tell me what to do kind of thing, because that's always been my entire life. Someone was always telling me what to do. And so I became very obedient. So on July 7th, 1987, I went to the Glenmont Job Corps. Now keep in mind, 1 through 7, I'm in Albany, and then 7 through 16, I'm in rural New York. Bookends apart. But I go, and I'm a pretty optimistic person in my heart, so I every day is like a new day. I've just always been that kind of way. And so, on July 7th, 1987, that was what was called my input date. It was a Tuesday. They're always on Tuesday. I go to this live-in school. I was told I was being a dorm and kids and this and that and the other. And it's fantastic. I'm a people person. I thought that would be awesome. And so we go in on Tuesday. Of course, on Wednesday, the new inputs have to clean the bathrooms. Okay, I get stuck cleaning the shower, where this woman, she was a woman, from Trinidad, decided that she was going to start a fight with me, saying that I looked at her girlfriend. I've lifted many bales of hay before, and you don't just brush off your porch in the mountains of upstate New York. So I've shoveled many, many, many pounds of snow. With that said, I kind of proved myself that night, although I'm not condoning violence. I hate it. So the next morning, Thursday, it's now made it down the end of the hallway that this white chick thinks that she is all that, and I instantly have a target on my back. 97% of the school was from New York City. You know, it was a nice little opportunity for people that they thought mattered, to give them this opportunity to get their GED, learn a trade, earn a couple bucks, blah, 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 but not continue on the path they're on. And so by Thursday, I've got a target on my back. But by Friday, I heard a sound that was everywhere in this place. And the place was an old monk, I don't know what the word is, I'm sorry, but an old monastery. So it was very glass wall or hallways and acoustics up the wazoo. It had a chapel. So in between classes, people would sit on the benches and socialize, and a lot of people, depending on where you sat, what part of the crossroads you sat, is what you were going to listen to. So, like, the girls over there are listening to Anita Baker. The kids down there are listening to maybe some Latin music. And then you got the Jamaican posse over there listening to their reggae and doing their dance. And it's, look, music is king in my world. That's what got me through the first part of my childhood. I would cling on to music, and that's what would keep my head on straight. Casey Kasem was my hero. I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. But anyway, but songs go right here. Deep. And if I love it, I love it. But the only way I knew through the school, because I'm new there, was to leave my dorm, go down a hallway, and if I turned right, that's where you went to the cafeteria. So I'm still learning. But if I turned right, I heard this sound. And it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. It started with the rhythm that got me. But then I heard this voice. And I just walked over to, see, I'm a very social person, but sometimes I don't have boundaries. I get excited. And I walked up to the people listening to this music, and I was like, what is that? And I caught hell, like, oh, what do you want to know about that for? And you wouldn't know nothing about that based on the color of my skin. But my ear wasn't letting me leave that radio. And this kid, DJ Wiz, slid down the bench and's like, that's Eric B. and Rakim. Now, if you know Eric B. and Rakim, you know that's very distinctive, but the great part was Rakim's lyrics were spot on to the day, as most rappers' lyrics were, but he was intellectual. He was saying stuff that makes you want to think. But he did it in a low voice. He wasn't really like on the mic going, bah. This guy had a flow. This guy was everything. And then you hear the lyrics and you're like, wow. But what he was talking about in the lyrics was the Nation of Islam. And to them, I would walk down the hallway and be called a bitch. Now, that's just what happened. They didn't eat pork or any ingredient that contained pork. And they're pretty decent guys. They were pretty quiet. They were pretty prolific thinkers. But, because of the color of my skin, I was something completely different to them. But what did I do? I learned, because I worked in the kitchen, I was going for culinary arts, what foods had pork in it. And when I would see them come through the line, and they'd say, may I have that? I'm like, you know what, dude, you can't. That's got pork in it. What do you know about pork? I'm like, well, lecithin and this and that and different ingredients that equal to pork fat. And then it became a thing like, wow, she's kind of cool. But what I continued to do was seek out Eric B. and Rakim music. He taught me how to survive at the Glenmont Job Corps. For I think I did like 19 months there. And the crossroad to me was that This was the first time I chose my own music. I liked music, but it was always what someone else was playing. My mother's radio in the car, the stereo in the house on Saturday when they put records on. That was all Motown. What my brothers brought home, Southern rock, and the first hip hop album, Sugar Hill Gang, came through came through the door. And so I was like, wow. And then it just exploded as what they now call the golden age of hip hop. I listened to everything I could get my hands on. But it was almost like doing the wave at the stadium that all of a sudden I just became like this cool white chick. Or that's Michelle. Ask her anything about hip hop. She'll tell you. That's Michelle. Hey, Michelle, what they'd see me in the hallway. What's for lunch today? And I never felt threatened again. Ever. And I'd say inside the week, maybe 2, I just had the best time. But here's the swinging around part of the story. In June of 2019, I see that Eric B. and Rakim are playing at the House of Blues in San Diego. I got right on it, got my daughter and I, who's 17, tickets to go see them. But I said to her, Kelly, I'm taking you to downtown San Diego. And I'm living in a rural town now again. How ironic. But I said, Kelly, I'm taking you to downtown San Diego after 6 o'clock at night. It's a whole different world. Stay with me, blah, 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 blah. Do the mommy thing. But I also have to be first online, and I have to be dead center at this show because Rakim is going to see me whether he likes it or not. I need to... Okay, so that happens. It's wonderful. I can't... look at Smiles. Dimples are coming out. But then I'm reading in the San Diego Reader that Rakim is going to do a book signing at a place called Book Soup up in L.A. on Sunset Boulevard. I said, Kelly, go get my appointment book. If October 12th is empty, cross it off. I'm going to take that day off. And she goes, why? And I said, because we're going to go get our book signed by Rakim. We're going to go to this bookstore. But I got to be first online. And, it's going to be standing around. I know that. I need to be up in LA by 1 and the book signing's at 7. I know this. But what I didn't see happening, this is just amazing because he's a Nation of Islam member. That's his belief. He's very strong in it. He's very faithful. He's just a smart man. He flows in such a tone that you have to lean in and listen. Not too many people make you lean in and listen. You'll hear it, but now I want to know what he's saying. I'm second online, and I'm a wreck. It doesn't hit me until I see him sit down behind the counter. And I'm like, what am I going to say to him? And I said, you know what? I'm going to tell him how he saved my life. How because I had to listen to him, I stayed alive. And what probably was, it was street. That's just what Job Corps was. It was street. The mentality in there was just street. You either knew how to do it or you didn't. You all of a sudden weren't there anymore because you called your mom and said, come and get me. Or you thrived and I think I did. I got my GED. I learned a trade. You know what I mean? I learned how to get a job. I mean, it was amazing the time that I had. But because of him, I stayed alive. And that's what I told him. And you know what this gentleman did? He got up and came around the counter and gave me a hug. Because he knows that in this situation, he's the entertainer. And everything else kind of has to take a back seat. And we were good with that. We were good with it. And I got to thank him for basically keeping me alive, saving my life back in 1987. So, there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I love you. Be kind.